unique opportunity for us to come here and share here at Dove Creek. This place here and the people here were instrumental in God using this place to continue the transformation in our lives. And a lot of you have seen that since 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago when we started coming here. This worship was awesome right now, and it just reminded me of the first time we came here, and I was afraid to lift up my hands and worship, and then just that powerful worship right now, and just not having a care in the world, worshiping the Lord here. And a lot of you don't know, as Pastor Jeff was saying, you've seen transformation since we started going here, but the transformation began before that in our lives, both of us. So I'll share a little bit about the journey from darkness to light in our lives. What the graves in the gardens, like that song. Like what I grew up, I developed. I started abusing drugs and alcohol at a very young age, in 5th grade, and I had older brothers, 5 older brothers. I was the youngest of 6, so that's what I had to look up to. They kind of, and my father. That's kind of what I learned. That's how you had fun, was partying, and that's what I did. I was like a weekend warrior throughout high school, throughout elementary and junior high and high school, and I was always able to keep things together enough to where I was good at school. I got a job. Had the same job for 16 years, and but eventually that lifestyle caught up to me to where I developed a very bad opiate addiction, prescription pills, opiates, and alcohol, and I was so dependent on that I couldn't function without it, and I was wasting all the money that came in to supply for my family was going to buying Norcos off the street, and it was just it got really bad to where at rock bottom 7 years ago I lost everything I owned. My boss fired me finally after 4 failed drug tests and attempts to tell me to get my life together. And finally, I wasn't showing up to work because I didn't have any pills to get out of bed. So I wasn't producing for him. So he fired me, and I lost my job. I sold everything I owned. Went getting evicted from like the 4th place, my ex and I. And at that time, I had children. I had an infant child, 6-month-old. Logan was 6 months at that time. Lucas was 2 years old, and Lauren was 6 years old. And CPS got involved. The neighbors started calling CPS, and so not only did I lose everything I owned in my house, the most important things to me, I lost our children to CPS. And I remember being at a park in Oildale, not caring about anything except where I was going to get my next fix from, my next beer, my next pills, and I was running from the cops, running from the landlord. I was suicidal for the first time in my life at that point. I had nothing to live for. And unbeknownst to me, in the background, one of my brothers did come to Christ at an early age, Joseph, and him and his whole church were praying for us, praying for me, and for God to transform my life. And so the very next day, my family, it was surreal. I stepped out of the apartment, and my whole family showed up, and they had like an intervention and offered an intervention for me. And I wasn't searching for God. I wasn't even praying about that, anything. All I was worried about is where I was going to get my next beer from. And he supernaturally, miraculously transformed my life through my family, that they were the bridge for me from darkness to light. And within the 6-month period in 2015, he completely delivered me from my addictions. He restored my children. I started doing everything that was required of me to get my children back. My wife entered our life and became the wonderful mother that she is, the true mother of our children, because my ex still stayed out in that lifestyle and lost rights and custody to everything. And I even got my job back in a better position, all within 6 months. It was just a supernatural, and I didn't do any of it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't pray for it. But my brother and his whole church in Visalia were praying for me, and that's the power of prayer right there and what it can do. And my brother Joseph, after a couple of years ago, we were sitting at dinner, and he told me that, David, I almost gave up praying for you. And And it floored me. That so if that speaks to someone now that you're praying for some family member. I just talked to someone out here, but he's praying for someone that he knows, and don't give up. Keep praying, because God can do miraculous things. He really can. And that's the beginning of this. That's before we started coming to Dove Creek, and that you would think that would be the end. Restored life, no longer have addictions, job back, everything's beautiful. That's just the start of it. So I was still being abusive to my children and my beautiful wife, and I wasn't claiming Christ yet. I was in AA, and they kind of claim a higher power, and they don't claim Christ. They used to when it first started, but they watered it down, and now it's just a higher power. And so we were both spiritually searching, and she was actually audibly called one day. God called her to reach out to my sister-in-law, and she started reaching out to her and getting mentored by her, but I was still being abusive and I didn't have that heart. My heart was not transformed yet. Then we started coming here to Dove Creek. Our whole family went to go get McDonald's over here, and she was looking for a church for us to start going to, and saw a sign, Dove Creek, and well, let's try that. So we came there that Sunday, and then every Sunday since, until we started pastoring at Church Without Walls. And this place was so instrumental in beginning that heart transformation for me. Even when we first started, the first year we started coming here, I started playing worship. I was really enjoying Pastor Jeff's sermons and all the theology that he would bring to the table, and I just appreciate the way that he teaches, like in this church, how it is so accepting of different views of doctrine, and he'll teach the different views, and he'll tell you where he lands on them, and then leave it open. You guys can land anywhere you want here. You'll still be welcome here, still loved here, and but even that first year or so, I thought that's what life was about. I thought it was just you come and on a Sunday hear a sermon, play worship, and then I could be a jerk the rest of the week to my family still, Okay. And then she says 2 years, not 1 year. So 2 years, the first 2 years. Okay, so I started developing mentors, Kim Mather and Pastor Ken Wonderly and Steve Ogden and Dave Wilkerson, and just started coming to the Bible study on Tuesday mornings and just diving into God's Word and getting mentorship and just he started little bit by little bit. It wasn't an overnight thing. Like it says in Ezekiel, he takes that heart of stone and gives you a heart of flesh. For me, that did not happen overnight. It's still happening as we speak. It's going to be a lifelong process, but it started then. And then I remember it was about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I'm not good with time. She'll correct me. But I remember an announcement. Pastor Jeff announced Church Without Walls, and I had never had a heart for service. I didn't understand 4 years ago. I didn't understand service. It didn't make any sense to me. My wife's always had that heart for service, and he gave an announcement. It was during the summer, about right now. If anyone wants to come and help serve pizza in 106-degree weather in the heart of Oildale, come on down. I kind of shook my head, almost like it was a joke or something, right? So we're headed home in the car, and my wife looks at me in the family and says, "Guess where we're going tonight?" So dragged us over there to Church Without Walls. I did not want to be there at all. It was like a trigger for me because that's where I had been delivered to a couple years previous. Why would God bring me back to where he delivered me from? I thought he delivered me from all that for me to have my own cushy life and everything be okay. Didn't understand it. And I was in the corner just watching the kids, watching the clock. She's out helping Pastor Jeff and Kelly hand out pizza, and I just wanted to leave. I did not want to be there. And then the next week, the next time, we helped out again, and we just slowly started getting to know Pastor Ben and Pastor Margie over there, and getting to know the people, the volunteers, and the people that we were serving, that community, and I started developing this heart that it wasn't for me. I started loving on these people that I thought I wanted to run from. So I went from being in the corner there at Church Without Walls to now pastoring there and to losing sleep at night, praying about how we could minister to that community more. And that's just a complete glory to God type of testimony that did not come from me whatsoever. I did not want to be there. I was fighting going there. I really, really did not. And he completely took that heart of stone, gave me a heart of flesh. And through that, as he developed that heart, I've been not abusive to my family anymore. And it's just amazing what God can do in changing one's heart, you know. And now I see it. Like in retrospect, I can understand why he put us there, because both of us have gone through addictions, mental illness, abuse, poverty, everything that they could be dealing with, all the spiritual malady that they have, the physical, the emotional, all of that, the mental, we can relate to all that. So when they come up to us and they have that issue, we can demonstrate the love of Christ through them, through building a relationship. And that's how Christ works, is through relationships. Like it says in James, you could say, oh, well, God bless you, and pat someone on the back. But unless you do something to help them with their needs, it's useless. And I noticed that when we were served food there for Dove Creek, that we would just kind of be serving food and God bless you and serve food. And there, both of us, we thought there should be more to that. So it was put it on us, our heart, to actually learn their names and know their stories. And that's how Christ is going to transform their lives. And we've seen some miraculous transformations. And we know it can happen because it happened in our life. So we have that hope that only comes from Christ. And since Pastor Ben and Margie, they blessed us with the ministry over a year ago. In April, they left and moved to Texas. And we've added some things. It was mainly a food ministry. So we added some more Bible studies to it, and we started the showers back up. And on third, if you guys ever, I know missions. A lot of missions are in third world countries. There's a mission opportunity here in your own backyard. There's a third world country on Beardsley Avenue, and if you don't believe me, come down one night and check it out during the showers or anything. It's beyond belief what goes on down there. It's a very unique, specialized ministry. We deal with people that are overdosing from fentanyl right in front of us. We got couples fist fighting in the front, fire starting across the street with family all in one night. That happened last Sunday. I don't mean to scare you away, but if you want an opportunity for the mission field, you don't have to leave this country. Give us a call. You can come down and help out. Thursdays, it's amazing. We started the shower ministry back up, and up here is a schedule of all of our services. But that Thursday showers, that's how we demonstrate the gospel with ministering to their needs, and then they wonder why are these people loving on us like that, and then they come and they start asking questions about biblical questions and questions about Christ, and why do you do this and this person doesn't. And that's an opportunity to share the gospel through our actions, which leads to them coming to our Bible studies. And it's a beautiful thing that's happening there, and we're serving as a hub for the community for other organizations. Even secular organizations come out. Like every Thursday we do showers. We offer them a hygiene bag, clothes, showers. We barbecue hot dogs back there, chips and water and cookies, and we listen to worship music while we're doing all this. And then also there's a doctor from Clinica Sierra Vista that comes on site that offers his services, and they can see Flood Ministries, which offers housing assistance, and that's every single Thursday starting at 9 o'clock till 1 or whenever it finishes. And then every third Thursday started to be, people started reaching out and wanting to come set up booths and stuff. So we have, additionally to that, to the doctor, Flood, and us with the showers, we have a veterinarian that comes on site. We have a dentist that comes on site. We have a Brenda Jean's food ministry that comes on site. The Walk Ministries, Kern County Mental Health comes out sometimes. True Connect's going to start coming out again. Like it's blossomed into this hub where even these secular organizations, people that I didn't know that were believers, are coming up to us asking for prayer because they see this prayer and all this stuff and this listening to that worship music, and it starts to rub off on them, and they come, and it's surprised me a few times. People I didn't even know that were believers coming, or maybe they're not even believers, but they see something happening there, and it's just a beautiful thing. If you guys want to come by, I would recommend on a Thursday to see what God's doing there at Church Without Walls.
it is very, it's revisiting the past, coming back here, and Dove Creek is so, like my husband said, so pivotal in a lot of transformation that has taken place. And I laugh sometimes when I think about. I mean, we were train wrecks, absolute train wrecks. And I'm not so sure Dove Creek was very used to having train wrecks in their church. um, but they definitely did as much as they possibly could. And there are relationships that are still continue to this day from all of that. And Dove Creek will always be a very, very special place in our hearts. And we also discovered we were led to Church Without Walls through Dove Creek as well. And like my husband said, when we were out there once a month serving food to them, you know, the line, it goes so fast. You don't really, you're just, you know, you're trying to make sure you get the food on the plate to begin with, so you can't really look up all that much. And you can't really conversate with them, and it was really wearing on me. I mean, God was really speaking to me about all of that. And so one thing I know today is if you're only out there serving food to the homeless, and that's the only area, which is where we were, that's the only time we ever had any experience with serving the homeless was through the food line. You don't see what all that really goes on with the homeless. They're living in trauma every single day of their lives. They are surrounded by vicious violence that you can't even imagine. I mean, some of the horror stories that we've heard are just like, I've never even couldn't even imagine these things that they actually really go through. You know, there's, aside from the very grim violence that occurs out there with weapons, there's also an enormous amount of sexual assault and violence that takes place with the homeless on a regular basis. And there is no hope inside of them. They are dead inside. And I understand that. I understand that deadness inside. And throughout my life, I did not have the Lord. And I did not have people around me who had the Lord. So people like me who guide themselves, and I didn't have a whole lot of guidance from my parents either. They were, you know, I come from, on the outside, I come from that picture perfect family that you know, I mean, we were a broken family, but they, anyways, there's just, every family has dysfunction in them. Every single family does. And some of that dysfunction really wounds people throughout their life that they just weren't able to face or resolve or whatever. And so it takes them on these paths, these very dark paths. And it also makes them very vulnerable. And when you're dealing with a vulnerable person, you are gonna be dealing with a lot of trauma. and so my trauma started at 7 years old, and it just continued. It just continued throughout, and I was highly vulnerable to abuse, and that's a lot of what my life was surrounded with, was abuse from other men. And I was misdiagnosed So because I was misdiagnosed, I never had the know-all to know what exactly I was dealing with. So I never received the proper treatment for what I had been dealing with. So my life continued on the path of abuse. And so when I met my husband here, I thought, oh my gosh, so charming and just so different from everyone else. And goodbye the days of abuse. And well, no, that didn't really exactly happen, and that's okay, because God puts us on those paths. We ask so often, a lot of the time, why do we have to go through so much suffering? Why is there so much suffering in the world? Well, because our purpose is to glorify God. That is our sole purpose. And until we're able to recognize that, we're going to have wounds inside of us that will continue. And once we're able to grasp that and really understand it, God can work, miracles with those wounds. And so on that journey that I've had, and my husband and my family, we know that all of those people out at Church Without Walls, all the trauma and suffering that they're going through, they can be transformed. We know that. And so these relationships that we're building with them are so important. And that's the key. That is the key to helping lead people to the Lord, and helping, being that support system to help them find better ways and better paths and roads to healing that's blocking them. And part of my purpose also is another ministry that we are in the process of launching. We started launching it in March, but it's not fully launched yet. Is called Close the Gate, and Close the Gate on pornography, the gateway to domestic violence, sex trafficking, and child predators. So my life has been affected by other people's porn use all throughout my life. And the Lord showed me this connection about 4 years ago when I did a deep dive into childhood on out. And when he showed me this connection, and he showed me that pornography is the root cause of so much darkness and destruction, and I knew that was something that I had to continue researching and learn more and more about, and eventually be that loudspeaker in our community on pornography. Yay me, and yay my husband. But it's not. I give my husband a lot of. I'm amazed at his willingness and his heart to understand the purposes of God that he gives us. And he knows that this is a calling and a purpose that can't be ignored. And, that's another thing. We need to be obedient to the Lord. And if there's something that keeps coming up in your life, and there's something that the Lord is calling you to, I challenge you to take that leap of faith and go after that and see where the Lord takes you with it. But on this journey, where I don't have the time, so where are we at with that?
Hold on 1 second. You have 10 more minutes.
Okay, so the root of pornography Okay, Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That is his ultimate purpose. And one of the main themes you will see in the Word of God is immoralities, sexual immoralities. And there's a reason for that. We were not designed at all to go down these dark paths. Our brains were not designed for it. Our bodies were not designed for it. You don't find relationship in those paths. You can't have relationship in that, in any of it. In any area of pornography, there is no relationship and there is no God in that. It is strictly the enemy who comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And he is killing a lot of women and a lot of girls in the area of sex trafficking. And pornography is fueling the sex trafficking area. And there's a lot of people who are addicted to pornography that don't have a clue that they are watching a woman, or for those who have crossed the line and they're watching child pornography, that they are being trafficked. They are in sexual slavery, and they are being threatened by weapons. They are being threatened psychologically, and it runs very dark. However, on the surface, you're not going to see that. You're going to see the illusions, and that is Satan. He is the father of lies. And so he is destroying our marriages, our families, our children, and we have been, as a church across the country, we have been kind of pushing that under the rug and ignoring that. And yes, there are many men's groups that have popped up, and that is, absolutely, thank God for that. Thank God for that. There's also parts of pornography addiction that a lot of those programs have not yet incorporated the whole picture of what occurs in a marriage that pornography is either unknowingly, secretly polluting, or it's been out and the wife is aware of it. There is a lot of what's called integrity abuse that comes from the porn-addicted spouse, and the abuse that filters out onto the wife. And with that abuse, there comes an enormous amount of trauma. I've just completed what's called DST, which is deceptive sexuality trauma therapy. And so there's a doctor called Dr. Minwala who just made his program out open. He's training people to go be therapists for these couples and these families who are dying and being destroyed. And there's an iceberg that goes with it that covers all the integrity abuse and entitlement disorders and rooms of trauma that the spouse goes through, and how it affects the family, the children, and all of that. And I'm really excited to start on that journey of helping families and couples with that. Stealing. Satan steals. He's stealing our children. Our children are being groomed off of the internet. 80% of children sleep with their cell phones with them. There's all kinds of things happening online that a lot of parents are not privy to. Or they think, oh, no, that's not going to happen to my child. There's no way my child is going to do that. Well, last year, the National Center Exploited for Missing Children came out with numbers. And last year alone, there were 29 million reports of child crimes off of the internet. 29 million. Just sit with that for a moment. We have 364 days in a year. We have 50 states. And we now have 29 million cases of children being groomed and assaulted and lured out into sexual violence and slavery and sextortion. It's a huge problem, and it's very taboo and it's very silent, but there are some organizations speaking out now. They've actually been around. There's like a handful that started in 2010. And since then, there's more organizations growing and becoming stronger and making an impact on these issues, but it's only the beginning of the impact. And we need more people. We need more people to listen to the Lord. If the Lord is calling you to help in this area, we need you, because our children are being hijacked big time. And I've been mentoring for the past year with a woman who's nationally known, and she's been in this field since 2010, and she has been mentoring me on all the areas and teaches me, how to analyze all the cases and what to be able to spot the patterns and how these adults are getting our children. And so Close the Gate is an educational awareness ministry that will be bringing to the public all the different ways of how this is happening and how you can really honestly keep your child safe. And child goes up to 18 years old. So the ages between 13 and 17 are really heavy right now, where they're being hijacked, big time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really exciting what the Lord has done in every area of our lives, and to be able to, I don't know, it is a miracle. Coming from train wrecks to a miracle, it's the Lord can move mountains in anywhere you think he can't, he can. He really, really can. And so thank you so much for allowing us, Pastor Jeff, to be here. And we do have volunteer opportunities. One area we have no volunteers whatsoever, is security. Huh. We have no security at our ministry. So if there's anyone interested in taking part of that, we're a ministry where security would be really, really awesome, because it's we have a lot of we have some volatile things that do occasionally break out, and we don't have our CCWs yet. We're working on that. So if anyone's interested in that, please, and then I'll pass it to you for more volunteers.
I just wanted to say that thank you, baby, for opening up and talking about that Close the Gate. But what I hear, and this is how we balance each other out, like I hear all that, and I hear the problem is sin. It's simple to me as a pastor. The problem is sin, and the answer is Christ. And that's I kind of simplify it like that, maybe to a fault at times, and that's why she comes in. She gets more into the deeper issues and trauma and stuff. But that really is, when you boil it down, the problem is sin, and Christ is the answer. I mean, I see that more and more and more. Like, we both just got our masters from Summit Bible College and learning all this stuff, and doing all these finals on systematic theology and all. And when you boil it down, we have a universal problem. It's sin, and the universal answer, and it's Christ. It's literally that simple. But there's more to it than that. You have to develop relationships with people, deal with their trauma, and I am so blessed to have a wife that is capable and willing to do so. And and the same thing, like when we started, like Mark was part of our group when we first started this Christ Recovers, and we had this 12-step model, and Pastor Jeff allowed us to do that here. And through that, we figured out the same thing. You have people that are putting their trust and their faith in this formula, the 12 steps, and then Christ goes out the window. And it's not about formulas or anything else. It's Christ is the answer. Drop the mic.